Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are almost at the end of chapter 5. Durvasa Muni's life spared. So today, because yesterday there wasn't a recorded lecture, I'm going to read 25 as well so that everybody online can sort of follow the story. And then we're going to do 26 together. And then tomorrow I'll do 27 and 28 because 28 doesn't have a purport. So we'll do them together. Okay. Hä? Ja, ich weiß, aber ja, das ist so this verse. Yeah, I'm not going to do 27 today, because we have some guests coming. For anybody listening, there are guests coming on Tuesday. I can't remember his name now. Him and his wife Prema Manjari and something with an S. Wait, let me see. Ja, können wir auch machen. Okay. Sundaranana and his wife Prema Manjari, they opened the first temple in Bali, and they've done a lot of other temples in Indonesia and wherever, Jakarta, and so they're coming here just for a stopover, and they're going to give the class on Tuesday. So it's definitely worth coming on Tuesday, please. Yeah, and I already told them that they're going to start a new chapter. So okay, yeah, good. All right, 25. So let's just do 25 together quickly. I'll just do it and read the purport, and then we'll do 26 together. Well, actually, okay. Let's. Okay. Was machen wir jetzt? Mann, komm noch. Okay, we'll just chant 26 together, you and I, and then I'll read from 24:5 until the end of the chapter. Shri Sukha Vacha Atambarishas Taneyeshu Rajam Samana Shileshu Vishrijatira Samana Shileshu Vishrijatira Vanam Viveshat Mani Vasudeve Mano Tatattvasta Guna Pravaha Shri Sukha Vacha Atambarishas Tanayeshu Rajam Samanashileshu vishirja dira. Vanam viveshatmani vasudeve. Mano dadatvasta guna pravaha. Shisuka vacha Atambarisha stanayeshu rajam Samanashileshu vishrija Vanam viveshatmani vasudeve. Okay. Shishuka Vacha. Shishuka Dev Goswami said, Ata, in this way, Ambarishaha, King Ambarish, Dana Yeshu, unto his sons, Rajam, the kingdom, Samana Shileshu, who were equally as qualified as their father. Vishrija, dividing. Diraha, the most learned person. Ambarish Maharaj Ambarish. Vanam, into the forest. Vivesha, entered. Atmani, unto the Supreme Lord. Vasudevi, Lord Krishna, who is known as Vasudev. Manaha, mind. Dadat, concentrating. Dvashta, vanquished. Guna pravaha, the waves of the material modes of nature. Okay, so this is, let me just go back to 25 so that we can read this all in sequence. Okay. I'm just going to read the English. In this way, because of devotional service, Maharaj Ambarish, who was endowed with varieties of transcendental qualities, was completely aware of Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus he executed devotional service perfectly. Because of his devotion, he thought even the topmost planet of this material world no better than the hellish planets. Purport. An exalted and pure devotee like Maharaj Ambarish is in full awareness of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. In other words, a devotee of Vasudev, Krishna, is in full knowledge of the other features of the Absolute Truth. The Absolute Truth is realized in three features: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti sabdyate. The devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev, knows everything, Vasudeva Sarvam iti, because Vasudev Krishna includes both Paramatma and Brahman. One does not have to realize Paramatma by the yoga system, for the devotee always thinking of Vasudev is the topmost yogi. Yoginam api sarvesham. And as far as Jnana is concerned, if one is a perfect devotee of Vasudev, he is the greatest Mahatma. Vasudeva Sarvam iti sa Mahatma sa durlabhaha. A Mahatma is one who has full knowledge of the absolute truth. Thus Maharaj Ambarish Being a devotee of this personality of Godhead was in full awareness of Paramatma, Brahman, Maya, the material world, the spiritual world, and how things are going on everywhere. Everything, everything was known to him. Yasmin vigyate sarvam evam vigyatam bhavati. Because the devotee knows Vasudev, he knows everything within the creation of Vasudev. Vasudeva sarvam iti sa mahatma sadurlabhaha. Such a devotee does not give much value to the highest standard of happiness within this material world. Narayana para sarve na katushchana bipyati. Sar svargapavarga nara Narakeshvapi Tulyartha Darshinaha. Because he is fixed in devotional service, a devotee does not regard any position in the material world as important. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati has therefore written in Chaitanya Charitamrita 5, which I won't read now. For one who becomes a pure devotee through devotional service to great personalities like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kaivalya, or merging into Brahman appears no better than hell. As far as the heavenly planets are concerned, to a devotee they are like phantasmagoria or will-o'-the-wisp. And as far as a yogic As far as a yogic perfection is concerned, a devotee does not care a fig for such perfection, since since the purpose of yogic perfection is achieved automatically by a devotee. This is all possible when one becomes a devotee of the Lord through the medium of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions. Okay, 26. Srila Sukadev Goswami continued thereafter, because of his advanced position in devotional life, Maharaj Ambarish, who no longer desired to live with material things, retired from active family life. He divided his property among his sons, who were equally as qualified, and he himself took the order of Vanaprastha and went to the forest to concentrate his mind fully upon Lord Vasudeva. As a pure devotee, Maharaj Ambarish was liberated in any condition of life because, as enunciated by Srila Rupa Goswami, a devotee is always liberated. Iha yasya harer dasye karmana manasa gira nikila swapya vastasu Jivan Mukta Sa Uchyate. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami thus instructed that if one's only desire is service to the Lord, he is liberated in any condition of life. Maharaj Ambarish was undoubtedly liberated in any condition, but as any ideal king, he accepted the Vanaprastha order of retirement from family life. It is essential for one to renounce family responsibilities and fully concentrate on the lotus feet of Vasudeva. Therefore, Maharaj Ambarish divided the kingdom among his sons and retired from family life. So he didn't do it because he had to, not in the sense that he was already liberated, so he was completely Krishna conscious in every second of his life, in every sphere of his life. So he didn't technically have to take Vanaprastha because he was already so focused on Krishna. But as a king, he was the example. So in the Bhagavad Gita says, whatever a great man does, the common man will follow. So if a king does it a certain way, every other person will also do it a certain way. So that's why we see Krishna and Ambarish Maharaj and everybody did exactly what society and what the Vedas expected them to do, so that we, as the plebs, have an example. So, 27. Anyone who chants this narration or even thinks of this narration about the activities of Maharaj Ambarish certainly becomes a pure devotee of the Lord. Jai. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur herein gives a very good example. When one is very eager for more and more money, he is not satisfied even when he is a millionaire or a multimillionaire, but wants to earn more and more money by any means. The same mentality is present in a devotee. The devotee is never satisfied, thinking, this is the limit of my devotion. The devotee is never satisfied, thinking, this is the limit of my devotional service. The more he engages in service of the Lord, the more service he wants to give. This is the position of a devotee. Maharaj Ambarish, in his family life, was certainly a pure devotee, complete in every respect, but because his mind and all his senses were engaged in devotional service. Savai Manaha Krishna Padaravindayor Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanuvarnamne. Maharaj Ambarish was self-satisfied because all of his senses were engaged in devotional service. Sarvopadi vini muktam tat paratvena nirmalam. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchate. Nonetheless, although Maharaj Ambarish had engaged in Nonetheless, although Maharaj Ambarish had engaged all his senses in devotional service, he left his home and went to the forest to concentrate his mind fully in the lotus feet of Krishna, exactly as a mercantile man, even though completely in wealth, tries to earn more and more. This mentality of getting more and more engaged in devotional service puts one in the most exalted position. Whereas on the karma platform, the mercantile man who wants more and more money becomes increasingly bound and entangled. The devotee becomes increasingly liberated. 28. This is the last verse. By the grace of the Lord, those who hear about the activities of Maharaj Ambarish, the great devotee, certainly becomes liberated or becomes devotees without delay. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 9th canto, 5th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Durvasa Muni's Life Spared. So, 25 is quite, in my mind, a heavy verse, or at least 25 shows me how far away from the devotional, how far away from a devotee I am, because I still dream of happiness in this life. I mean, I know that I can't have it permanently, but sometimes when life gets difficult, I start thinking about how it could be better. But in my defense, I always think about how to get things better so that I can do better for Krishna. So I dream of a big house so that I can host the devotees, and I dream of a garden so that I can grow flowers and flowers and flowers and flowers and vegetables to offer to Krishna. So it's not completely mundane, but still. At the moment, I have only 4 flower pots, and I have four mangold plants and dill, and I'm waiting for my flowers to make flowers, because somehow, even though we live in a forest, there's no much. There's not so much wildflowers to offer to Krishna. But it's interesting. Yeah, anyway. So Ambarish Maharaj was a perfect devotee, and he is our example. Obviously, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came 500 years ago, now more than 500 years ago, to show us how to be a devotee. But in the Bhagavatam, we have all these beautiful examples of devotees who got it right, and also devotees that got it wrong. So the Bhagavatam is full of examples of how not to do it and also how to do it. And Maharaj Ambarish is obviously an example of how to do it. And it is hopeful because he was a king. So why does the Bhagavatam, yeah, why my feet are tingling? Why does the Bhagavatam mostly focus on the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas as examples? Because they understand that if the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas can do it, the Shudras and the Vaishyas can also do it. And there are parts of the Vedas that have more stories about more common people, not kings and queens. But we have to understand that a Kshatriya is materially spoken at the top. So they're the king. They have, in Vedic society, they have the most power, they have the most money, they have the most influence, they have the most responsibility, and so they have the most of everything. The Brahmanas, of course, are the head of the society, but Brahmanas have a different function. They're a lot more renounced. I mean, they obviously they can have families and friends, but Brahmanas live on donations. Kshatriyas have to generate, like the Vaishyas and the Kshatriyas. The Vaishyas generate the wealth, they give it to the Kshatriyas, and the Kshatriyas have to distribute it. So it's a lot. It's a lot of material entanglement, because you don't only have your own family to worry about, you have the whole country to worry about, and every single person under your responsibility is part of your family. So, and it's very easy when you have so much power and so much money and so much responsibility to not think of Krishna, because you don't really need to. You're rich enough, and you can be. It's very easy to get under the illusion when people have a lot of money and a lot of status and a lot of power. It's very easy to fall under the illusion that I'm okay. I have everything I need. I have the power I need. I have the money I need. I don't need anything else. So Ambarish Maharaj was not like that. He was completely, completely devoted to Krishna. Every single thing he had on his body, in his kingdom, everywhere, he devoted to Krishna. So that's why I say he's the perfect example, because we the obviously we as normal Kali Yugas people, we don't have the riches, and we certainly don't have the power, but we can follow the principle to know that everything we have to offer to Krishna. That's the principle that never changes. So no matter what status of life you are in what stage of life you are in, the devotee, the path of bhakti yoga is to learn how to give everything to Krishna, because everything belongs to Krishna anyway. It's just our it's just our duty and our lesson to learn how to give it back to him, and to not to have sticky hands to hold on to stuff. So Ambarish Maharaj And then what the Bhagavatam also says is that the more you serve Krishna, the more you want to serve Krishna. So yes, and sometimes if we get to into a situation or a feeling that we are stuck, that we don't have any, there's no juice, there's no rasa in our devotional life. Sometimes it happens. One reason of it is that we're still committing offenses, and then our bhakti is sort of frozen. And then, in the other hand, is that if we start feeling, kannst du mir kurz mal ein bisschen Wasser holen? Einfach nur kalt, weil irgendwas bleibt stecken. So, if we get stuck in our devotional life, it's either because we've committed offenses and Krishna is unhappy and he pulls himself back, or we're ready for the next step. So whenever we get stuck, we can think of those two things: is Krishna happy with me, and maybe Krishna wants me to do even more. And that's why it feels like my devotional life it's not getting any, there's no juice, because Krishna wants us to grow. Thank you. Okay, better. So those are the two things. And Maharaj Ambarish is obviously another example that at the end of his life, he wanted even more. So then you have to take the next step. So Vanaprastha is only the next step, where we not only have to practice renunciation, we shouldn't focus so much on the renunciation part. We should focus on the fact that I renounce because then I have more time and more space for Krishna, for devotional service. I don't have the material obligations, and therefore I have more time to uh, to focus on Krishna. It's sort of I'm thinking a practical example just popped up in my mind is, if you think about just normal family life, mothers and fathers, Shishi Radha Madan Mohan ki jai, Shishi Gornitai ki jai. So mothers and fathers, they have to worry about the babies, they have to worry about the children, they have to worry about getting money to feed the children, they have to worry about raising the children into good people, and about uh, getting them what they need. And sometimes the and they also have to spend time with their children. They have to educate them. They have to do, it's the biggest responsibility that you can have in this life, to raise children. And but when the mothers and fathers then become grandparents, you see that now they don't have to worry about money. They don't have to worry about feeding the children, or about getting uh, getting money for the children, because the parents do that. And they don't so much have to worry about disciplining the children, because it's the parents' responsibility. So what do the grandparents do? they can just have fun. They can just fully go into being grandparents and have fun with their grandchildren and do stuff with their grandchildren and whatever. So it's sort of like that's sort of like Vanaprastha. As a Grihastha, you have all these responsibilities, and yes, you have to focus and you do everything for Krishna, but as a Vanaprastha, you can now just focus on Krishna. You don't have to worry about the material things, you don't have to worry about everything else. You can just focus on the fun bit, the really, really fun bit. At least in a perfect society, that's how it's supposed to go. Because the grihastas, the grihastas are also important. Um, Sometimes we still see that the grihastas are treated as the black sheep because yeah, they have to be in the material world and blah blah. But if it weren't for the grihastas, none of the other ashrams would have money because the grihastas, the Grihasta's main service is giving in charity. Giving in charity to the brahmacharis, giving in charity to the vanaprasthas. So it's the job of it's the job of the Grihastas to support the vanaprasthas, which ISKCON unfortunately has not yet. We don't do that part that well, not like we should. So currently, the vanaprasthas still have to worry about a lot more things that they should worry about, but we're working towards it. So Ambarish Maharaj was a perfect example in every way. He was a perfect example as a king, as a grihastha, as someone who lives in the world and has material responsibilities, but also uses those material responsibilities for Krishna. He doesn't keep anything for himself, and then he also, at the end of his life, gave everything away. He made sure that the kingdom was divided, to given to all his sons, and then he could let go. So, um, yeah, we. So that's why uh, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, if we meditate on the example of these devotees, then we will also become devotees, because not only are we inspired by that story, but studying that story, studying that Leela, also teaches us how to become like that, and Krishna will. Um, Now I can think only of the Afrikaans word, and I can't even think of the German word and the English word. He will. Okay, it's not the word that I was looking for, but by studying the Leelas, Krishna opens up the Leela. He shows us the deeper meaning of the Leela, and that's how we learn. So that is why reading Srimad Bhagavatam is so important, because we learn so much from it. It's like our GPS of how to get from A to B. Okay, that's it. Any questions, any thoughts, any comments? Yes?
And fängt mir entschuldigt, es ist more private. Also I have some different view on Vanaprastha. So I can imagine if you had this biography, yeah, you started very young in Krishna consciousness, and you had this Brahmachari Vyahasta time, then maybe, because I think it will be like you said, my Guru Maharaj said in one lecture that Vanaprastha is to digest life. Also
Yes.
you have to digest it, and this is more my experience. I started with Vanaprastha, Krishna consciousness, and there's a lot to digest. When you with at 50 start to look at your life with the eyes of Masters, also the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. There is a lot to digest. Also, it's quite challenging.
Yes, of course. I mean, vanaprastha is not easy. I mean, the whole point of giving up, letting go. That's the thing of the vanaprasthas. That's the vanaprastha is the in between step between grihastha and sannyas. So by the time you get to sannyas, you're practiced. So no, I mean vanaprasthas. I know wonderful vanaprasthas that is a very very big lesson. Is how they know that they should do it and they try their best, but practically doing something and letting go inside mentally also, and fully putting your trust, that's the process. So it's not it he could do it. Ambarish Maharaj could do it because yes, of course, he's a pure devotee, but for us, he's the example of where we need to go, but how to get there is something slightly different because we're in Kali Yuga. So yeah, I can imagine that vanaprastha is um, it's quite a challenge these days, especially also because the society is not mature in that regard yet, and also the economy just doesn't allow for it. How people have to survive. I mean, we have to work extremely hard just to have the basic necessities. So yeah, I like that digesting life. That is, but that's the beauty of the ashram system, is that there is an ashram in which you are allowed to just do that and not get even more. Um, yeah. So in the end, we as a devotee communities, we still have a lot to learn and a lot to do. But yeah, there's a lot to do, and that's why we need each other. Yeah. Valentina, any?
Just also reflecting. Surely what no you are prepared and showing the yes, every step is easier if you do properly what you did before.
Mm,
Because into the final, if you already did properly your brand sharing out, it's already part of your because the aspect or your desire needs are satisfied, you can live properly and be sure. So if you do everything properly, kinetic nature or step investor, more consciousness. If you jump in some action, but if you not sleep properly down, one can have more.
yes, there are. It's definitely the ashrams. The one ashram system is built in that way that each step builds on the previous one. The brahmacharis, and each step, each ashram has a specific duty and has a specific form of renunciation. The brahmachari has to learn how to renounce their freedom because they're technically under the care of the temple and their spiritual master. The grihasthas have to renounce. It is a renunciation having to live with someone and having children and having to do all those things, and you have to basically also renounce parts of your freedom and also letting go, because the grihasthas give in charity, and then the vanaprasthas, yeah. So yes, it is easier to do it if you did it perfectly, but it's not our fault that we didn't do it perfectly. The point is that there's no, there's so much to regret. I mean, we have so much opportunity to regret the things that we did wrong and the things that didn't happen earlier or the things that didn't happen at all. For example, I'm a Griasta, but I can't have children. So I can spend my life regretting the fact that I won't have children, or I can just think, okay, that's how it is. And but my job is then to, when I get to Vanaprastha, not to still think, oh, I wish I could have children. That's something that I have to learn to let go, right? So, and I could regret it, and I could take it with me, but then in the end of my life, I have to let it go because otherwise I'll have to come back again. So, and in Kali Yuga, and it's not, it's just the way that life worked. So I could, so we all have reason to think of, in German you would say hätte, what if? What if I had met the devotees earlier? What if I had gotten married earlier? What if I had done this or that or whatever? And you can't change it because it's part of your karma, and it's part of the life that you will have to digest. And but the point is that we are so extremely fortunate to have gotten the opportunity to meet the devotees and to chant Hare Krishna. Whether you started at 5 or at 15 or 55 or 65 or 75, it doesn't matter. My Guru Maharaj says that he gives this example that if someone imagine you're at the top of a cliff, you're at the top of a mountain, and someone is running very extremely fast towards the cliff, also dieser Abgrund, this cliff. And he basically just stops at the very edge, and he stops and he turns around. That's it. That's all you need. It's so just as long as you don't fall off the cliff. It doesn't matter if you're on the edge of the cliff or if you stopped 100 meters before the cliff or a kilometer before the cliff. The point is that everybody, it's like we got the chance. It's like another example is if a drowning man is, if you pull a drowning man out of the water, even if you just pull him this much out of the water, he's safe. He's like, thank goodness. He doesn't even have to be in the rescuing chopper or on the boat or whatever, just as long as he's out of the water and not drowning anymore. So we all have lives that did not go as planned. And we all have lives that we wish we could have had differently. I mean, somehow I have the great fortune of having a family that I'm extremely close to, that I love, that I could not have wished for a better mother and father and a better brother, but it's my karma to not be with them. I would love to live with my family close by, but it's Krishna has given me this life in which I live on a different continent. My brother lives in America, my mother lives in South Africa, I live in Germany. 3 different continents. We love each other, we see each other once, if we're lucky, we see each other once a year, but somehow our lives just worked out in a way that we cannot be together. And so it's all, we all have these things that we digest and that didn't go as planned and that hurts and that is a burden, but at the but if we put all of that aside, we can be so fortunate that we can be Krishna conscious, that we have this opportunity to practice Krishna consciousness. And yeah, so that's why reading Bhagavatam, chanting together, reading together, feasting together is so important, because we all, and all of our lives, all the lives that we have, we bring a certain wisdom with us. We bring certain things that, there are certain things that I've learned that I now can share with others. And there are certain things that you've learned from your life that you can share with others. So whatever baggage we have, whatever traumas we've experienced, all of that contributes to the wisdom that we have with us, and we have the opportunity to share it with others, and we have the opportunity to become Krishna conscious. So in that regard, thank you for listening, and thank you for being here, backstage, front stage, and on the internet. Now comes Prasad and the rest of the day. So, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripasindhubheva cha, Patitanam Pavanabhyo, Vaishnavbhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.